Tomi Lahren, also known as the anti-Snowflake right-wing crusader, decided yet again to prove she's a complete and utter fraud. Look at what she's triggered by on Fox News.
So he's talking about how we're standing for the national anthem, but it was just a couple of days ago we brought you the story of a selectman from Haddam, Connecticut, a guy by the name of Larry Maggi. He was shocked that 2 weeks ago at one of their regular meetings, a Democrat by the name of Melissa Schlag took a knee during the Pledge of Allegiance. That was in July 16th. Well, last night they had another meeting. What happened? Let's take you back to Haddam, Connecticut.
They were booing him. They got yelled at.
Did you see the girl in the back? She came around the table to see if her colleague was going to.
The cameras everywhere. They also had veterans in the audience just scream at her to stand up, telling their personal stories and how offended they are. It doesn't seem to bother her. She's against the flag and the Pledge of Allegiance in particular.
Well, in particular, she's against Donald Trump. We have some of the reaction from some of the people who were there last night. Let's play some of that.
What are you thinking when you kneel down to the sacred Pledge of Allegiance, that what those people died for gives you the right to do that and disrespect them? I think it was great.
I wholeheartedly respect your right to protest. If that's what you would like to do that on your own time.
Kneel and turn your back on that flag. You turned it on half of this town.
A lot of the folks in Haddam would like to see her resign. She has said she would not.
Yeah, she has no plans to seek a higher office, she says. She has received harassment and threats over her protest and calls for her resignation.
So is this about freedom or is this about disrespect? Tomi Lahren is a contributor, up early for us or out late, we're not sure. Tomi, what's your reaction to the reaction? The reaction I find heartening.
Well, the citizens of that town really said it better than I ever could, and you could see their emotion, you could see their patriotism, which is something that I personally love to see. I think what she's doing is disrespectful. I think also we have to remember that just because she has the right doesn't make her right. And it also doesn't mean that she's going to be shielded from criticism. She's choosing to do this. She's choosing to disrespect the flag. Clearly, veterans in the crowd feel that she's disrespecting them, and she deserves to be called out for it.
It's hard really to watch this, in my personal opinion. We've been watching all of the remains that are in caskets coming home to America. Families have been without their loved ones. They made the ultimate sacrifice. We had a guy on the show the other day who said he didn't see his dad after he was 4 years old because he was missing in action. And dad never came home. Doesn't have answers. So, I mean, when you hear these stories and then you see people kneeling for the flag, knowing what our servicemen and women have done for this country, I mean, to me, it's just so sad.
It's sad and it's really disheartening. I think you hit the nail on the head there because we have so many Americans that have fought and died for this country. And it just shows that there are some, usually on the Democratic side of the aisle, that their disdain for this president is greater than their love for this country. And I think we need to remember that whatever their issue is with this president, whatever their issue is with this administration or Republicans or Trump supporters, it shouldn't trump, if you will, their love of this country and their respect for those who have fought and died for this country. Why that has become something the Democrats have embraced is beyond me. I don't understand it. Why is patriotism not something that all Americans believe in? You can dislike this president and his administration. You can also use the other 23 hours and 58 minutes in the day to show that disdain for this president and this administration. You don't have to use the anthem. You don't have to use the Pledge of Allegiance.
So, in other words, you have the freedom to do what I tell you to do. That would be the opposite of freedom. That would be not free at all. So first of all, let's address her biggest concern. Well, why can't we all agree on patriotism? Can't that be the one thing we all agree on? Tomi, perhaps, and I hope you're sitting for this, it is. Perhaps when people kneel during the anthem and they refuse to do flag humping, perhaps you should listen to why they say they're doing it. The idea that, like, it comes from this irrational animus and they're just trying to, you know, let's be disrespectful on purpose. And I sure don't like the color scheme in that flag. No. They'll tell you if you sit down and listen. Many people who protest the flag say, hey, listen, my whole thing is police brutality. I think we need to do reform in this country. I think we need to have citizen oversight panels. I think we need to end the drug war, whatever it may be, end private prisons. Now, you don't even have to agree with the person who's doing the protest on those particular issues. But at the very least, you have to acknowledge that the reason they say they're doing the protest is indeed the reason they're doing the protest. Instead, you pretend like there is no rationale, there is no logical point, there is no argument. They're not actually trying to present a certain point of view. You swat that aside and just say, well, you hate America, you hate the flag, and you're not patriotic. But see, Tommy, that's how a stupid person responds. That's what that is. That's how a stupid person who's not interested in hearing what the other side is saying, that's how they respond. And that's what you're doing right now. So, in my mind, the whole idea of, well, I'm gonna kneel during the anthem, I'm not gonna stand, whatever the fuck it might be, that's them saying, I'm trying to, and forgive me here for borrowing a phrase, make our country great again. Because I don't agree with where it is right now. So somebody like me, if I were to kneel during the anthem, my whole thing would be, hey, we shouldn't be waging offensive wars. We shouldn't have 800 military bases around the world that cost $100 billion to maintain. We should protect not just civilians overseas, which we should, but also our own young men and women. I would never send a young American man or woman to fight and die unless it was absolutely necessary and it was to defend the country. So for somebody to protest and take a stand or kneel and say, hey, listen, here's my issue, you need to listen to what they're actually saying. You don't just immediately go, well, that's just because you hate America. That's why you're doing that. Again, that's how a stupid person responds. Maybe they are trying to improve the country and you just don't listen to them when they tell you how they want to do that. Maybe that's what's happening. Now, putting that aside, how quickly does Tomi Lahren and the other people on Fox News, for the record, but more so her because she's made this whole thing of I'm the anti-snowflake person, how quickly does she become a snowflake when it's an issue where she disagrees? I mean, that is nothing but sheer snowflakeism that you just saw right there. That's nothing but I'm triggered and I'm running to my safe space on Fox News where we all agree and there's no dissent with each other on Fox and Friends here. We're all just going to do a circle jerk of how pompous and right we are, even though we're straw-manning our opponent and not even listening to what they have to say. So you believe in safe spaces, you are triggered, and you are clearly a snowflake. And it's just amazing to me that she's portrayed herself as this, I'm the free speech person, and then you're triggered over free speech here. That's what that is. That's free protest. That's free speech. That's what you're triggered by. That's what you're shitting on. And then also, let's just note the final point here, and I think the most important point is, when there's an issue, like let's see, remember what happened in Ferguson, Missouri, and oh my God, there was a riot as a result of it, and everybody on Fox News made a point when that happened. They said, hey, listen, don't do riots, don't do property damage, because that's going to distract from your point, and it's going to turn people against you. And, you should borrow from Martin Luther King Jr. and do peaceful, nonviolent protest. That's what they say whenever there's a riot. And by the way, I agree with them when they say that. I don't support riots. I don't support wanton property damage, especially for people who had nothing to do with the thing that fucking happened. But then when people decide, okay, here I go. Nonviolent, peaceful protests like kneeling for the Pledge of Allegiance or the anthem. They attack them anyway. So it's like, they just keep moving the goalposts. Oh, hey, are you doing a violent protest? Maybe you shouldn't be violent. Maybe you should do peaceful protest. Then everybody will understand. Then they do peaceful protests and they go, I can't believe you're protesting. I think you hate America. So there's no winning. There's no way. They just disagree with you on the issue, but they're not even intellectually honest enough to just say that they disagree with you on the issue. Isn't that amazing? Like, it's one thing if they disagree on the issue, but they're honest and they're like, okay, listen, so you're doing this because you don't like police brutality. Well, here, let me show you some statistics about how police brutality perhaps isn't the problem you think it is. I mean, they could respond like that. They could do it, but they don't. They don't even bother. They're too lazy. They're just like, we're just going to pretend you're not even talking about police brutality. You hate America and you hate the flag. If you like this stuff, man, it's just beyond sad.